And the TTC is addressing its fare evasion plan with a new campaign.
And for more on this, we're joined live by TTC spokesperson Stuart Green. It's good to see you, Stuart. Thanks so much for joining us on this snowy afternoon. What is the message when it comes to this campaign?
Well, really, the message right now is a simple one. Pay your fare or you are going to be subject to a fine. We've done the most recent audit that we've done internally shows that we're losing about $124 million in 2023. It's about 11 or 12% fare evasion rate. And those numbers are double what we know from the last time, which was 2018, 2019, when we last did this. Of course, we weren't measuring during the pandemic. That was a very different time. So the message really now is to people that, we're back to normal. If you choose not to pay your fare, you will be found. You may get a warning. You may get a ticket. We're going to be very fair in how we do this. We've got a new approach to how we do fare enforcement and fare compliance. If you're unable to pay, the city does have programs. We're going to remind people about the Fare Pass program to help those who are unable to pay the fares, their full fares. So there are a number of things that this campaign will include, but really the message is we need to start recapturing that money, because without $124 million a year, if that's ongoing, that really impacts our ability to deliver service, to keep the system safe, and to keep fares where they are today. If people think fares are high today, imagine where they'd have to go if we don't get that, at least some of that money back. Yeah. So that's really what we're trying to get out.
Hey, Stuart, can you, elaborate on that part a little bit more, the trickle-down effect of what happens when people don't pay their fares? Because there are employees who help operate the TTC working there that these fares, they go to pay their salaries.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, Bakari, right now, the TTC is heavily reliant on fares to pay for our operations. We're the least subsidized transit system in North America. We appreciate the help that we do get from the City of Toronto when it comes to our operating subsidy, but really, we are heavily reliant on our fares to the tune of about 60% of our operating. So without $124 million a year in lost fares, that absolutely impacts frontline service. It impacts our ability to hire new staff, to have frequent service, to hire safety and security staff, and to keep fares low. That's the trickle down. So really, we know that about 88% of our customers are paying, and we thank them for that. And when you don't pay, when you willfully don't pay your fare, that is it's disrespectful, and we're reminding people about that.
Stuart, I want to look at this from another angle for a minute. There are critics and advocates who say when you crack down on people not paying fares, you are going after the most vulnerable, those living in deep poverty in our city. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, we share those concerns, and that's why over the last 5 years we've redone the process and how we do fare collection and fare enforcement to make sure that we are not targeting those who are the least able to pay. We know there's an industry standard of around 3 to 4% for when it comes to fare evasion. We understand that is the most hard hit in the society that will not be able to pay. For those that are sort of on the margins, there is the Fare Pass program that allows you to apply through the City of Toronto to have reduced fares, and it makes transit more affordable. But we know from our studies, and we know from this audit, that when people are approached and enticed to pay or face a fare, about half of them do pay. So we know that there are people out there who are just getting on the streetcar, and it's mostly on streetcars. They're getting on the streetcars and they're just, deciding not to pay because they think it's only $3 or whatever. But when you have the multiplier effect, when you have a total of, $120 to $130 million in lost revenue, that has an impact. So we're going to be mindful. We're going to be respectful to people when it comes to how we go about this. But we also need people to be respectful to those who are paying their fares.
And also, Stuart, you've asked the feds to release approved funds in their upcoming budget. You're calling for help. Where would that money go? What's at stake, and what's the likelihood of that actually happening?
Yeah, so we've made a joint submission with Vancouver and Montreal when it comes to capital funding. So this is how we're going to buy new trains for Line 2, for example, how we're going to buy new buses, because buses only have about a 12-year lifespan. So there's going to come a time where we need new buses. But our pressing concern right now is the new trains for Line 2. What we've asked is that the federal government advance the transit fund that they've set up from 2026, move it up to 2024, and allow us to start accessing that money now. And that, again, that's true of Vancouver and Montreal as well. So the CEOs of those three organizations have put forward a budget submission. Hopefully we get a response from the federal government that allows us to start planning for the future and having better and newer vehicles.
All right, Stuart, I'm looking out the window. It's looking picturesque, but it is messy out there. Let's talk about the snow, the GTA under a snowfall warning. Can you talk about the TTC's preparations for this spring storm?
Yeah, so like everyone, we're sort of a bit surprised to see the weather forecast, given that this year has been relatively mild and snow-free. We do have a number of things that we put into place when it comes to storm prep. We'll put extra vehicles out there to make sure that we've got enough service out there should there be any slowdowns because of the weather. We've got all the anti-icing things that we do when it comes to the overhead network, streetcars and subways, the open cut areas of subways. And then there are 56 stops, which as of 3 p.m. today, we will be taking out of service proactively because they're in areas that are quite hilly, and we know that they are prone to buses getting stuck. So that list is available on our website. If you also follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and I have to say that, at TTC Notices, you'll be able to access those. Also, those stops at them, there's a QR code. You can scan that to find out if your stop is out of service. But as of 3 o'clock today, we're going to be taking those out of service, so we don't have to deal with stuck buses later today.
Okay, and then there's also the added service for people just getting around downtown, going to the sporting events this weekend. And Stuart, you're probably going to be at work this weekend, or you'll be getting some phone calls. TTC spokesperson Stuart Green, thanks.
Thanks, Bakari.
Thanks so much.